Greetings. Welcome to my channel. My name is Anamiki. Today I'll be bringing you some paranormal and frightening experiences that my friends, family, or I have experienced through the perspective of Halo. As you hear these stories, you will realize that all these stories take place in the Menominee Indian Reservation in Wisconsin. These grounds have been inhabited by my people for thousands of years. It's common for these areas to be inhabited by my ancestor spirits. I hope you enjoy these stories. This story is one of my own experiences. I was about 16 years old. One summer night, I was visiting my grandmother, who only lived about a 5 or 6 minute walk away from my mom's house. It's a rural area with large forests and lakes. After visiting with my grandmother for a few hours, I then said goodnight to her and I began walking home. This was nothing irregular, as I often walked between the two homes, often at night, and never really scared of the dark. I remember enjoying this walk in particular because it was a warm summer night. I remember hearing the crickets and the frogs, as my grandma lived really close to the lake. Those calm, happy feelings soon changed after I began my walk. As I was listening to music, I only had the audio level at about a medium, so I could hear things like the crickets and wind when I was walking. At about a quarter of the way home, I thought my mind began playing tricks on me, as I thought I could hear something behind me. Sometimes a friendly neighbor's dog would walk in this area, so I wasn't too nervous or anything. I took my headphones out and I turned around. Nothing was there. I assumed it was just my own footsteps echoing from the forest, or just my music. I then continued my walk, without the headphones in. As I began walking, I could hear something behind me again, maybe about 10 or 15 feet. This time, I could tell that they were somebody's footsteps. I stopped right in my tracks, as did the other footsteps that were following me. The hairs on my neck stood up as I stopped to listen. This time I did not turn around, and I thought maybe it could be something like wild deer or maybe somebody following me. I was getting a little scared as I had no idea what or who was behind me. I stood still for about 5 seconds and then proceeded to walk a bit faster. At this point, I was a little more than halfway home. As I began walking, I could hear the footsteps again. This time they were keeping up with my pace. I could definitely tell there was something or somebody following me. I again stopped on my tracks, as did the other footsteps. I completely froze with fear. As I stood there, my mind began to race what I should do next. Seemingly, my only option was to sprint the rest of the way home, as I knew something was attempting to follow me. Whatever it was, it exhaled so loudly that it echoed in the forest. Without a second thought, I sprinted as fast as I could. As I sprinted, I could hear the footsteps running after me. Seconds later, I could see my mom's porch light. I cut across the yard and I remember thinking I might die. As soon as I got into the yard with the porch light shining on me, I could hear the sprinting footsteps behind me get quiet. Once I got onto the porch, I turned around as fast as I could. I did not see anything. I scanned the entire yard and the tree line just to see if I could see anything or anyone walking away. To my surprise, I see nothing. I walked inside and immediately told my mom what happened. She told me to stop walking at night, and she didn't know what that could have been either. My mom is a firm believer in creepy things that happen in the area, as she also grew up on this road and experienced many things herself. I definitely stopped walking at night for a while after that. Before I begin this story, I want to give you a little information on the Menominee Indian Reservation. As with any ghosts or spirits, they often take the form of something that will make an impression on you. In this area, legend says, the bad or evil spirits will take a form to entice or lure you to them. This story is one of my own experiences. My longtime friend Nick, who you have seen on this channel before, was a part of this. This experience happened on the Menominee Indian Reservation in Wisconsin. This is only down the road from the previous story. I was 18 years old. It was an early fall evening, a little on the cold side, but good weather otherwise. I was hanging out and having a fire with two of my friends, Nick and Sam. I was living with my grandmother at the time. We started a small fire, but we needed more wood. We decided to go across the road and gather some fallen wood in the forest. We then headed down the gravel driveway to the forest. Nick and I decided to go across together, and Sam went alone down the road a bit. Nick and I walked through the brush and then found a clear spot to see fallen wood easier. I placed my cheap LED lantern down for a little bit of light while we gathered, and we continued making jokes and having regular conversations like normal. This went on for about 2 minutes. All of a sudden, for a brief moment, we heard a voice coming from the deeper woods. We stopped and turned towards each other. We realized that this voice was coming from the deeper part of the woods and not where Sam was at. We also realized that this voice was coming from an area where there were no houses. I tried thinking logically to myself, what could this have been? Maybe it was an owl. There was a road a bit down the way, but this was kind of stretching it. We stood for a bit longer. We then heard it clear as day, a hauntingly abnormal baby cry. Every hair in our body stood up and we ran out of the forest as fast as we could with whatever wood we had. We ran so fast that we didn't even think about Sam. Luckily, Sam was done collecting his wood and was already on his way back. Nick and I got back to the fire and saw Sam running towards us, asking us what happened. We told Sam and he said he didn't hear anything with a serious expression. We all agreed we were done going in the woods for the rest of the night. Before I begin this story, I want to give you a little more information on the Menominee Reservation. Legend says whenever you hear spirits being active, you have to show no fear and you have to tell the spirit to go away. This story is not one of my own experiences, but rather my cousin Mandy. As always, this experience happened on the Menominee Indian Reservation in Wisconsin. Mandy and I are about 30 years old now, and this happened to her when she was about 9 years old. It was a cool fall day. The sun was setting. Mandy's family lived in a somewhat remote area. Her family realized that they needed some firewood for their wood stove, so her dad decided to take Mandy. This way they could take a nice ride in the deep woods, enjoy the fall scenery, and also cut down some wood along the way down the road with their pickup truck. Driving around in the woods was one of Mandy's favorite things to do as a kid. Mandy's dad took her for about a 20-minute ride before they decided to finally go get some wood. Her dad spotted a fallen tree by an old logging truck on the side of the road. These are a common sight in the woods here. They both got out of the vehicle and her dad went to go grab the chainsaw and begin working on the fallen tree. Mandy began walking around the area and checking things out, as kids do. The forest was peaceful and there was no house for miles. As Mandy's dad got done cutting and putting some of the wood in the back of the truck, they then heard a voice say something deep in the forest. They both looked at each other, as it was very unlikely that somebody was out this far and this late in the day in this exact spot. They stopped and listened for a second. Mandy then began to get scared as whoever it was only yelled once. She was thinking maybe somebody was hurt. The voice yelled something again, and this time it was clear what it was saying. The voice was saying Mandy's name. Her dad went by her immediately and yelled, "Leave her the hell alone!" Mandy's dad told her to get in the truck because they were leaving. Mandy did not think twice. As they loaded into the truck, Mandy remembers her dad driving away really fast. It was a quiet drive home, as neither of them could believe what they just heard. Upon arriving at home, they told Mandy's mom immediately what happened. Ever since this experience, thankfully, Mandy's never heard anything call her name ever again in the forest.
Hey, if you stuck around, thanks for watching. I put a lot of time and effort into this video, and I plan on making some more. I genuinely would like to know if you had any paranormal experiences in your life, so comment them below. If you found this pretty interesting, like and subscribe for some more video game content by me. I'll catch you guys later.